Welcome to Nightfall Narratives, where fear meets survival, and where true stories blur with the unknown. Tonight's tale is about an ordinary hike that spiraled into a nightmare under the cover of night. Before we step into the darkness together, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's begin. Ethan was the kind of guy who loved the outdoors. Not the social type of hikes with big groups. No, he loved the solitude, the silence of the trees, the smell of pine, the freedom of being away from the endless noise of city life. It was early autumn when he decided to hike a trail deep inside Ravenwood Forest. He'd been there before, but never at night. The trail was supposed to be a peaceful 5-mile loop, one he could finish before sunset. But work ran late that day, and by the time he arrived, the sun was already dipping below the tree line. He hesitated. A smart man would have turned back, driven home, and waited for another weekend. But Ethan wasn't just smart. He was also stubborn. With his backpack, flashlight, and a small knife he always carried, he stepped onto the trail. The leaves crunched under his boots. The last light of the day filtered through the branches like broken shards of gold. And somewhere, in the distance, an owl called. "This'll be fine," he whispered to himself. In and out before midnight. The deeper Ethan walked, the quieter the forest became. At first, he noticed small details, the scurry of chipmunks, the creak of tree limbs, the smell of damp earth. But an hour in, the sound began to die. No birds, no crickets, just a steady crunch of his own boots. He told himself it was nothing. Animals go quiet sometimes, but there was something unnatural about it, like the forest itself was holding its breath. That's when his flashlight flickered. A quick, sharp blink, darkness, then light again. Great, he muttered, tapping the handle. He'd replaced the batteries before leaving. It shouldn't be dying already. Still, it worked fine after a few seconds. He kept moving, but the further he went, the more the wood began to change. The air felt colder. His breath hung faintly in front of him, and the trail markers, those little painted blazes on tree trunks, seemed harder to find. After 2 miles, Ethan stopped to drink water. That's when he noticed it. On the ground, pressed deep into the date, was a footprint. Not his. Bigger, wider. The heel sunk unnaturally deep, as though whoever left it had been carrying enormous weight. He crouched, touching the edge. The soil was still soft. It was fresh. "Someone else is out here," he whispered. But the thought didn't comfort him. He hadn't seen another car in the lot. No hikers on the trail. So who was walking out here in the dark? He shook it off and kept going. But soon, he began spotting more signs. A torn piece of fabric snagged on a branch. A broken flashlight half buried in the leaves. And strangest of all, rocks stacked in little towers along the edge of the trail. Each one about knee-high. Perfectly balanced. He counted at least 5. Some people did that as trail art, he told himself. But at night, under his weak beam of light, they didn't look like art. They looked like warnings. By the 3rd mile, Ethan was uneasy. His flashlight flickered again, longer this time. He stopped, smacking it against his palm. That's when he heard it. A voice, low, whispering. At first, he thought it was a wind. But no, it was too clear. Words carried on the air. "Don't look back." Ethan froze, his pulse hammering. He spun, scanning the trees with his light. Nothing. Just black trunks and endless shadows. He stood there for a full minute, straining to listen. But the forest was silent again. "Get a grip," he hissed to himself. "You're just tired." But when he started walking again, he could have sworn he heard footsteps following. Slow, deliberate, always just behind him. If you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe to Nightfall Narratives. These stories only get darker the deeper we go. And you don't want to face the shadows alone. Now, back to Ethan's hike. The trail should have looped back by now. Ethan knew it. He'd been hiking long enough to recognize when something wasn't right. But somehow, the path twisted into places he didn't remember. That's when he saw it. Through the trees, faintly lit by moonlight. A cabin. Small, old, with a sagging roof and boarded windows. It shouldn't have been there. Ravenwood was a protected forest, no private homes allowed. But there it was. Against every instinct screaming at him to stay away, Ethan stepped closer. The door was slightly open. A faint creak drifted with the wind. Inside, his flashlight beam swept across broken furniture, a rotting table, and walls covered in strange carvings. Symbols, circles, lines, some etched deep into the wood as if clawed. He whispered, "What the hell?" Then he heard movement upstairs. A slow, dragging step. Ethan's breath caught. His grip tightened on his knife. Someone was here. He backed out of the cabin slowly, heart hammering. The forest felt alive now, like it was watching. When he turned to leave, that's when he saw it. Standing at the edge of the trees. A figure. Tall. Too tall. Its arms hung longer than they should have, fingers grazing the leaves. Its head tilted unnaturally, like a broken doll. Even in the dark, Ethan knew it wasn't human. The figure didn't move, didn't breathe. Then, step by step, it began walking toward him. Ethan ran. Branches whipped at his face. His flashlight flickered again, throwing the forest into bursts of light and dark. Behind him, he heard it, crashing through the undergrowth impossibly fast. He didn't dare look back. After what felt like forever, he stumbled back onto the trail. Relief surged through him until he saw the rock towers again. The same ones. He hadn't escaped. He'd loop back. No, 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 he muttered, panic rising. The forest was playing tricks, trapping him. And then the whisper returned. "Don't look back." But Ethan couldn't help it. He turned. And there it was, standing in the middle of the trail. Closer now, its face pale, featureless except for a wide, jagged mouth that stretched too far. It smiled. Ethan screamed and bolted deeper into the woods. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time lost all meaning. His flashlight finally died. He ran blind, guided only by the faint glow of moonlight. Eventually, he saw something ahead. Lights. The parking lot. His car. He stumbled toward it, legs burning, lungs on fire. He didn't stop until he slammed the door shut and locked it. Inside the safety of metal and glass, he dared one last look into the trees. The forest stood still, silent. But just before he started the engine, he saw them. Two pale hands resting against the trunk of his car, slowly, sliding out of sight. That night, Ethan never spoke of what happened. He never returned to Ravenwood. And if you ever find yourself hiking at night, remember when the forest falls silent, when the path loops endlessly, and when a voice whispers, "Don't look back." For your own sake, don't. This was Nightfall Narratives. If you felt the chill of the story tonight, make sure to subscribe and join us again, where fear meets survival. Until then, keep your light close, and never hike alone.